YouTube? This is the Memphis XLRA coming at you live with a deck profile. That is right. I've been dueling with Kuribohs for a while, and it's time for me to reveal the secrets to my success. So I'm going to be going over the Kuriboh deck. This is pre-link Kuribohs. Once YGO actually gets the links, I will update this deck, although really the extra deck is what's mostly going to change. But before I get into this, I would like to dedicate this episode to Mr. George Solanticus. He is one of my subscribers, and he recommended that I make this deck profile, and well, I was going to do it regardless. He asked very nicely, so that's why I'm dedicating the episode to him. So anyway, let's get on with it. Okay, we got our main deck. For monsters, we have Kuriboh. Now, we got 3 of him. We got 3 winged Kuribohs, 3 Kuriborn, 3 spherical Kuribohs, 3 rainbow Kuriboh, 2 clear Kuriboh, 1 relink Kuriboh, and 3 Kinkabayo. For spells, we have 3 the Fluid of Summoning Kuriboh, 2 Multiply, 2 Detonate, 1 Where Art Thou, 1 Soul Charge, 1 Raigeki, 1 Dark Hole, 1 Burial from Different Dimensions, 1 Foolish Burial, and 1 1-for-1. As for traps, we've got Quaking Mirror Force, Regular Mirror Force, Storming Mirror Force, and 2 Waboku. For the extra deck, we have 2 Sylvan Princess Sprite, 3 Embodiments of Crime, 3 Embodiments of Punishment, 2 Slagger Magicians, 3 Lionhearts, let me just edit that right there we go, and then 2 Lyrical Lucinia Assembled Nightingale. The side deck we'll go over in a minute. So, the main playmaker of your deck, we got Kuriboh. He is the thing you make most of your plays with. His effect being pretty simple. During your opponent's turn damage calculation, you discard it and you take no battle damage. Kuriboh is Original Hand Trap. It works well with our cards Multiply and Detonate, not in that order. I'll go over their effects in a minute. Then we got, is a first turn option, we've got Winged Kuriboh. His effect being if he is destroyed and sent to the graveyard on the field, for this turn you take no battle damage. That's a great first turn option, especially if we combine it with Kuriboh Support Supreme, Kuriborn. His effect being at the end of the battle phase, you can discard this card and then bring back a monster that was destroyed by battle this turn, and then special summon it. And you can banish it from your graveyard and target any number of Kuribohs, being any Kuribohs, not just this Kuriboh, but anybody, and you can special summon them. So Kuriborn works great with Winged Kuriboh, especially if you open with multiple, so that's multiple turns, you're not going to be taking any battle damage. Then you got Sphere Kuriboh, his effect being when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you discard it, and then changes that monster to defense position. But yes, Sphere Kuriboh, his effect, it does not target, and that's very important to today's game. A lot of big boss monsters can be targeted. Sphere Kuriboh does not target. Also, if you're planning to ritual summon with him for whatever reason, he can be used as one of those materials from the graveyard. So, yeah, that's a thing. Then we got a Rainbow Kuriboh. He has 2 effects. His first effect, if he's in your hand, your opponent attacks, you can target that monster, equip this to that monster, and it cannot attack. And if your opponent tries to direct attack you, you can special summon this from the graveyard, banish it afterwards. So, yeah, Kuriboh not only stops your opponent's monsters from attacking, but can save you from a direct attack. Although he is the weakest of the Kuribohs at only 100 attack and defense, that's usually not much of a problem. Next we got Clear Kuriboh. His effect is when your opponent activates a monster effect that would inflict damage to you, you discard this card and negate that effect. And when your opponent declares a direct attack, you can banish this card from the graveyard, draw a card, and if it's a monster, you can special summon it and change the attack target to that monster, but you only use this effect once per turn. So Clear Kuriboh. Not only does he stop effect damage, which is something Kuribohs are actually kind of weak to, but you can also banish him, special summon a possible Winged Kuriboh or a Kuriborn from your deck. It is great. And as our one-off Kuriboh, we have got a Relink Kuriboh. This little guy's effect is, if he's tributed, you draw a card, which is kind of pointless because we run no tribute monsters, but his second effect is the important part. If a monster would be destroyed by battle, you can banish this card from the graveyard instead. So yeah, you put this thing in the graveyard as early as possible, and then, late in the game when you need something to survive, you banish this thing, nobody sees it coming. Doesn't activate, doesn't nothing. And then, as a very important tech, we got a Kinkabayo, this old spirit monster. Its effect is he can't be special summoned. During the end phase of the turn, he's normal summons flip face up, you return it to the hand. And when he's normal or flip face up, you can target a level 1 monster in your graveyard and special summon it, banish it when this card leaves the field. This is an important playmaker for summoning your Sylvan Princess Sprites and Slagger Magicians and the like. You summon them when you have a Kuriboh in the graveyard and you get an instant rank 1 monster. But what I like to do sometimes is, have a Kuriboh on the field, Summon King Kuriboh, special summon a Kuriboh from the graveyard. Use those for materials. Get your King Kuriboh back at the end of the turn, and then use its effect again. Whatever floats your boat. Now for spells, Flute as a summoning Kuriboh. Very, very important card. This card, quick play spell card. You can either add Kuriboh or Wing Kuriboh from deck to the hand, or special summon Kuriboh, Wing Kuriboh. Again, I wish this worked on every Kuriboh. I'm waiting for that retrain call, Nami. But yeah, what you do with this thing is pretty simple. You just special summon Kuriboh. Or Wing Kuriboh, use it for Xyz, or add it to your hand so you don't take damage. Special summon this so you don't take damage. And it works really well if your opponent plays Max C on it, because then you can just, add this to your hand and then not special summon him and be like, haha, you wasted your Max C. Next, we got Multiply and Detonate. This is your main destruction force. Multiply's effect is you tribute a Kuriboh, sadly, just the original Kuriboh. It'd be much better if it used any Kuriboh. And you special summon as many Kuriboh tokens, having the same stats as Kuriboh as possible in defense position of your field, and they cannot be tributed for tribute summons. So yeah, you just tribute one of these, you go from 1 monster to 5. Not much else to say there. But what it really changed well together with is Detonate, another quick play spell. You destroy as many Kuriboh, again the original, or Kuriboh tokens, and destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number of Kuriboh and Kuriboh tokens destroyed by this effect. So yeah, this thing, you can destroy up to 5 of your opponent's cards, which is just amazing. So you can destroy 5 monsters, that's cool, or you can destroy 5 spell traps. Yeah, that's right. Kuribohs have their own archetypal Harpy's Feather Duster. Let that sink in. Just take it in. Just take it all in. As a one-off, we've got Where Art Thou, which says if you control a face-up level 1 monster, you can add a level 1 monster from your deck to the hand. Hint, hint, you want to use that with Flute. However, if you don't summon that monster or monster with the same name, you'll take 2,000 damage. So make sure you summon whenever you summon. I like to play Flute, summon a Kuriboh, whatever Kuriboh. Play Where Art Thou, add something like King Kuriboh, summon King Kuriboh, bring back a monster, or if you don't want to summon King Kuriboh, get Kuriboh. Kuriboh is, of course, the thing you want to get to as soon as possible. Soul Charge. Always play Soul Charge. You always gonna have monsters in the graveyard, unless your opponent's playing ABCs or something that banishes a lot. So, bringing back a whole bunch of monsters to the costly battle phase, not a problem. Next, no, Raigeki Dark Hole. The meta doesn't like it when you blow up all their stuff, so I'd play one of each. If you got Cyber Dragon Infinity on the opponent's field, just Dark Hole, and then you play Raigeki. It works. Burial. Very, very spicy tech here. So imagine this. You've used all 3 of your Kuribohs. You've just filled your field with Kuribohs so many times. Your opponent, he's on the tip. He's on the breaking point. And then you play this, and you refresh all your Kuribohs. It's just beautiful. Or if your opponents have been banishing your other Kuribohs, you can return that. If your opponent banishes a lot of things, you can return those. It's just so multifaceted. Also, in the OCG, this is at 2, so I'm hoping that'll eventually be a thing. And Foolish Burial, pretty straightforward. Oh, almost took it out of the deck. That would have been bad. Oh, that's okay. Foolish Burial, just dump a Kuriboh. Usually want to send Kuriboh. You can also relink Kuriboh if you have enough Kuribohs in hand. Get rid of this, get rid of that. Well, not usually Rainbow Kuriboh, but if you had to, that's also an option. So you want to say Rainbow Kuriboh, Kuriboh, Brilliant Kuriboh. And then 1 for 1, to send a monster from the hand to the graveyard, like Brilliant Kuriboh, whatever. And then special summon a level 1 monster from hand or deck. You usually want to summon Kuriboh with this. Not much else to say, it's just good rank 1 support, or level 1. We go into a lot of rank 1s. These are all rank 1s here. Now for traps, Quaking Mirror Force, nasty little trap, flip all your opponent's monsters face down. They can't change their battle position except by card effects. So yeah, we won that at 1. Kuribohs don't run as many traps as you'd think. We mostly use spell cards. We got standard Mirror Force. If our opponent, we do want them to be destroyed, we just use this thing. And then Storming Mirror Force, if your opponent has things that they do want destroyed, this just bounces them back to the hand. So yeah. We've got the trio of non-destruction, destruction, total disruption. And then Waboku. Waboku is most important trap card. This card, its effect is you take no battle damage during your opponent's turn from your opponent's monsters this turn, and your monsters can't be destroyed in battle. So Waboku, you set this thing with a Kuriboh. They try to blow this up, they'll just chain it and you won't lose a monster. If they try to attack, you won't be losing monsters. If you have no monsters, you won't be taking any damage. I thought I had 3 of these, but I guess I wasn't paying attention. You can run 3 or 2, whatever floats your boat. Alright, now on to the extra deck. First off, Sylvan Princess Sprite and Slacker Magician. Why in the same spot? Because they're the things you're going into most often. Sylvan Princess Sprite's effect is you can detach a material, excavate the top card of your deck. If it's a spell trap, put it in your hand, otherwise put it in the graveyard. The other effect is completely unimportant because you don't use any plant monsters, so just ignore it. So, Princess Sprite, you usually want to go into this first if you don't have a lot of spell traps aboard. You just, excavate the top card of your deck, hopefully get one of your spell traps that you can use, or if you're lucky, you'll mill a Kuriboh or whatever other Kuriboh. It's just beautiful, and I love that artwork. Look at that. Look at it. Look at it. And that's Slacker Magician. Slacker Magician cannot be destroyed by battle once per turn, and if a card effect is targeted, if a card effect targets this card, then you can detach a material and negate the activation and destroy that card. Funny thing, a lot of people forget that that's what Slacker Magician does. I don't know why, but I've had a lot of people try to target this and it just doesn't work. So if you got lots of spell traps and you got everything set up, go for Slacker. If you don't, go for Princess Sprite. Next, we got number 54, Lionheart. He is the main beater of the deck, his effect being that he cannot be destroyed in battle while he's in face-up attack position. And when you take battle damage, your opponent takes the same amount of damage as effect damage, and you can detach a material during the damage calculation, and your opponent takes all the battle damage. So the idea of this deck, mainly, it's kind of Lionheart focus. Well, kinda. It's entirely Lionheart focus. Is that you summon this thing when your opponent has like a big beefy monster on the field, just ram this into it multiple times. And as I've said in my numerology video, your opponent will do anything they can to stop this, so that's why we run 3. And then we've got Assembled Nightingale. This card's effect is it gets 200 attack for every material attached to it. It can attack directly, and it can attack as many times as it has materials. So if you've Kuriboh and someone like, 5 Kuribohs, and then you Waboku or Mirror Force, whatever, protect them, you got an Assembled Nightingale next turn. It's got 5 attacks at 1,000. That's 5,000 easy damage. That's beautiful. And it can also detach a material and protect itself from being destroyed by battle card effects, and you take no damage regardless. So, yeah, Assembled Nightingale's pretty good in the right situation. And lastly, we've got the Terrible Twins, embodiments of crime and punishment. They share the same effect. You can detach material and change all your opponent's monsters to a face-up attack position, and all monsters your opponent currently controls must attack. Although for some reason they can still switch battle positions if they were already in face-up attack position. That's just a ruling thing. And while you have them both on the field, they have the effect of they can't be destroyed by battle or card effects while they have materials. And your opponent takes all the battle damage you would have taken. Before links, this was the main Kuriboh strategy, is to try and summon these things out as soon as possible, protect yourself until you can go into your Lionheart. You're just building this wall. You're building a wall your opponent cannot get over unless they negate their effects, which can happen, which is why I run multiple copies. But, once links come onto this site, I'm probably going to take out a few copies of these. I'll probably just stick with 1 of each, something like that. We'll see how it goes. Alright, so now let's move on to the side deck. This side deck, really, for Kuribohs can be anything. It's up to you. It's your choice. I've made a kind of a skeleton build here. I'll just go over what I've got in here. First, we got Kuriboh. Its effect is you can target an Exceed monster that has a material, detach a material from it, and then special summon a Kuriboh from the deck, and it can't be used as a single material. So, most important use of this thing is your opponent has an Exceed monster, you summon this thing, you detach material, summon another, detach material, summon another. If you got all 3 or the other 2 in the deck, 1 in the hand, 2 in the deck. But if your opponent's not playing Exceeds, it's not going to work. So that's why he's in the side deck. Creature Swap. Each player chooses a monster to control and switch control of those monsters with each other. Can you imagine your opponent summoning something like Cosmo Dark Destroyer, and then you summon Kuriboh and you creature swap it? The rage would be real. Which is why this is the side deck, because it still requires your opponent to have just 1 monster, and so many decks swarm nowadays, it's just not worth it. We've got Winged Kuriboh and the Transcendent Wing spell. Transcendent Wing is send Winged Kuriboh you control and 2 cards from your hand to the graveyard and special summon a Winged Kuriboh level 10. And its effect is it can only be summoned with the Transcendent Wings, and during the opponent's battle phase, you tribute this card, destroy all your opponent's attack position monsters, and inflict damage equal to the original attack of those monsters combined. So yeah, I don't run this in the main deck. I know it's super fun to do, but there's 2 reasons I don't personally run it. The first reason being, you don't always have discard fodder you really want to discard. A lot of Kuribohs have hand effects, the hand traps mostly. And, well, the other reason is almost every duelist in today's game knows this combo. So, if your opponent sees a face-up wing Kuriboh, and they got a set card, and you got this set card, they're not likely to just attack willy-nilly into it. And even if you do chain Transcendent Wing into a destruction, Wing Kuriboh only works during the battle phase, so, try it if you want. I love to see it doing. We got another Dark Hole just for that kick. And then we got Inferno Reckless Summon. When exactly one monster with 1500 less attack is special summoned to your field while your opponent controls a monster. Your opponent picks a monster. They summon all the copies of that monster from their deck. And you get to summon all copies of the monster you summoned from your deck. So this works really good with Flute Summoning Kuriboh. You summon Kuriboh, Wing Kuriboh, and then you get instant access to 3 monsters. And, if you get another Kuriboh, you can go into Crime and Punishment like turn 1. The only problem I have with this card combo is that your opponent has to have a monster, which means they'll have an established field. So unless they brick hard, or they're just relying on something like, normal monster beatdown, this doesn't always work. It works sometimes, so that's why it's in the side deck as well. We've got Junk Kuriboh. He is not in the main deck because his effect being during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect that will inflict damage, you can send this card from hand or field to the graveyard, negate activation, and then destroy the card. Like I've said, Kuribohs aren't good at dealing with effect damage, so if your opponent's using a lot of burn damage, this could be useful. But if they're not, it doesn't have any use, so I just put it in the side deck. And then the rest of this, we got Solemn Warning to negate summons, Solemn Strikes to negate summons, and card effects. So, yeah, that is the bread and butter of Kuribohs. Just Kuriboh for every day. And once links come out on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro, I will do another one of these with the new Link monsters. If there's any new support for Kuribohs, which I don't know if there will be, but if there is, I will do another video like this. And mostly the extra deck's going to change. The main deck will mostly stay the same. So anyway guys, thank you for watching this Kuriboh deck profile video. If you got any questions, ask me anything, write it down in the comment section below. Maybe give it a like if you liked it, and maybe consider subscribing if you really enjoyed it. So this will be the Memphis XLR8 signing out.